DJ Ash Noble here. Welcome back to another stream. We are doing the aftermath of what an amazing weekend it's been. We're doing two gig aftermaths. We're doing Ultimate Bounce, and we're doing the Family Rave. So if you don't know what the aftermaths are, basically I come live and I just talk about sort of how the gigs went, and it just kind of give my little bit of like a debrief, my sort of review on how I thought, the gig went, and did I enjoy the gig, kind of thing. And it's just something I like to do. So I normally do these sort of like the day after an event or something, and the family rave was yesterday. I would have done it like earlier today, but I went to visit the grandparents because I gig quite often, and then like I work through the week and I'm doing different projects, and I don't always get chance to go through and visit them. I'm like very limited because I've always got something happening. So I don't always get chance to go through. Today was like a free bank holiday. So I thought I'm gonna go through. We spent it watching the first day of the Isle of Man TT, the qualifying sessions, which I actually really enjoyed it. So for those of you who don't know, I'll tell you briefly before we get into the aftermaths. My granddad used to race on the Isle of Man TT. He raced in the Manx Grand Prix from 1962, I believe, to 1994. So quite a lot of years, and he raced a 350. Manx Norton, and motorbike racing has always been a big part of our family. I kind of grew up with it. I was never really mega in love with it. Like when I was growing up, I was kind of more like born not really interested in it. But then, kind of as I got older, I kind of got more into it, and now I actually like it more than I used to do when I was younger. So the TT happens every year. It's one of the sort of most dangerous motorsport races probably in the entire world. You literally are on a motorbike, you go around a 37.75 mile long racetrack, and you basically, you're doing speeds of like sometimes they get up to like 190 miles an hour. So people who sort of like do this, like they're not playing games, they're not messing about, they're not wimps, they're wearing the big boy pants, and unfortunately, there is people that die every single year when the event takes place. The Loads of people have called for the event to be cancelled, but the actual physical island itself, where the races are held, it generates like millions of pounds a year from like people, paying on boat fares and then eating in restaurants on the island, and buying, items in the shops and things. So it's too much of an income for them that they'd lose out on if the races obviously stopped. And the races have been going since the early 1900s, which is crazy. So yeah, so it started 2024, they started practicing. So I was sort of watching that with them today and sort of like listening to that, which was quite cool. So anyway, on to what has been well and truly an amazing weekend. I feel so blessed that I get to do what I get to do, and that is like go into nightclubs and jump behind the decks and play music, and I feel really good about it, like really, really good. So Friday, I was in Grimsby. We was in Grimsby for the Ultimate Bounce, and what a vibe that was. That was something that kind of really shocked me. It was a small venue. It was like a pub, and they kind of got this rave rocking in one of the rooms of the pub, and did this like little Ultimate Bounce night, and it just seemed to like really just people came out, people were enjoying themselves. and it was a really good atmosphere. It was a really good vibe, and everything just seemed to really, really go well. And played a really good set, played a bounce set. It was absolutely thriving. People was loving it. People were singing along. I played one track in the set, and it was a remix of Total Eclipse of the Heart. And even people that were outside having a smoke, and people that were kind of like sat down, they all got up and they all came in for that song. It's like they heard that song and it just brought everybody in. The whole set was just absolutely fantastic, and I had such a great vibe. The only downside to that event was a friend of mine who came to the event lost their phone, and then literally we couldn't find a phone. But then luckily yesterday we got a message to say that the phone had been found. We picked the phone up yesterday, so that was a good thing. The phone was in a good condition. It hadn't been like broken. There was no cracks in the screen or anything. So that was good. But at the time was kind of like, what's happened to this phone? And a little bit of a mystery. How it had somehow gone walkies. So that was the only thing. But it was a good vibe. It was absolutely fantastic. So big ups to Jamie Gillo for booking me for that one. I had a really, really good vibe. And the rumours are he's doing something in the courtyard, in a courtyard for the next one maybe. So keep your eyes peeled. So I'm looking forward to hearing what's going to happen with that one, because obviously this one was just absolutely fantastic. And everybody was just out in full force. It was just a really nice, sometimes bank holiday comes up and you've just got to stick a little free rave on, and just a little something in like a pub for people who are coming out. Something, as much as like, don't get me wrong, I prefer nightclubs to pubs. Obviously I prefer to DJ in clubs as pubs, but sometimes, you can get like just a little pub rocking and you can have a really good vibe. And sometimes, you just something a bit different for the pub as well, just to have a little bit of like rave music blasting, and just to have a good vibe, and just to get a few people who are sort of on a night out, rather than just kind of doing the normal sitting and having a pint and putting a couple of quid in the jukebox kind of thing. Look, there's a little bit more of a, you can dance, and there's a little bit, some DJs playing. So really good. And then Saturday I went to it was kind of like a little beer festival. But there was like live bands on, and there was a motorbike and sidecar on show, that had done like the TT and stuff, and it was like a really cool thing to see. There was like a tribute band, and then there was like a DJ on that did like karaoke, and there was just like a really good vibe. And met a friend who goes every year, lives in the village where it was happening. Just really enjoyed myself, and just had a good time. Not gigging, just chillaxing, and just enjoyed chillaxing. And then Sunday was all about the family rave, so we was in Brid for the family rave, and the family rave was just absolutely amazing. That again was one of them moments that just made me think, do you know what? Like, I just love being behind the decks. Like, I'm here, I'm on stage. There's a pair of CDJ 3000s. I've got this big 4-channel mixer, and I'm just spinning my favourite tunes, and I'm just having an absolutely amazing time. And it just made me think, do you know what? Like, I absolutely love that I get to be a part of all of this, and it went really well. And the promoter seemed like he was happy with what we'd done, so that was obviously like a really good thing. And it was just a really fun, enjoyable vibe. And the special thing about that event and that set as well was it was in the first ever venue that I ever went raving in. So that was like a mad thing, because back in like 2016, I think I attended my first rave. So 2015 I turned 18. 2016 by chance I saw a flyer in a bus shelter. It was for Clubland. it was coming to that very venue, and they had Darren Styles headlining. And I was like, wow, they've got Darren Styles from like Clubland, and Clubland, and then I think there was Entrance, DJ Cooter, so part of Entrance, it came down and played a set, and I went there the first ever time I went there, went to that event. And it was absolutely heaving. It was a really good vibe. And then I went to the continuous ones, Kelly Lorena, Andy Whitby, and then I went to the one after that, which I think was Rob Tissera and Club Filler. And then there was another one that had Lasgo and Hixie. And then there was another one, and there was Special D. And I think there was somebody else. I don't know if somebody returned. And then that was like the last one. And then the venue where they were holding the events shut down, and it got like rebranded, and the name changed, and that's when it turned into the Lodge, which is, what it is now. But I still got to gig at that place, and kind of be on that stage where I first went to kind of rave to them legends. So that was kind of like a big one for me, because it was kind of like, it was almost like going back to where it all started, but like doing it from a different angle. So like going back to where it all started, but this time gigging at the place where it kind of all started for me. I mean, I've always been a big fan of rave music, but I'd only just not long been illegal to like go out to like pubs and stuff, and at this point I hadn't really, like, I knew obviously that raves took place, but I was kind of a bit like, you know, like I wasn't at that point where I was like willing to like really travel, and I was only like what, half an hour away from Brid, and my dad used to give me a lift, so it was like it was like a cool thing for me, and I got to like just witness like starting to go out, and stuff like that. It was like a really good, it was like a really good vibe. The only thing I suppose that let it down at the time, I was obviously drinking, but then like my granddad was picking me up at like 3, 4 in the morning, and obviously I didn't want to get too wrecked, because yeah, he's that type of person that would like call me a stupid idiot. So I tried to keep it as sober as possible, while I was sort of like at them times where he was picking me up. But yeah, a lot's changed since then. It was absolutely mind blowing to be going to that place though. Where I went to the first ever rave, and then to like return there all these years. Like I've been there since, like I've been the odd times. There was like some house thing going on and some other bits and bobs. Last was it not last summer? I think the year before, and that was a cool thing. Um, but like I was kind of, this time I was kind of like properly sort of like returning, if that makes sense, to obviously what it was. So that was obviously really cool. So really good event. The kids raved. The kids absolutely loved it. They sang along to the tunes I was supplying, the tunes I was dropping, which was really good. Went with like a little bit. It was almost kind of like a bit of a Clubland versus a bounce set. So I played like some Clubland tracks, but I threw in a few bounce tracks, and the reason why I did this was because I had some like tunes that I knew they'd sing along to, but I had like there were bounce versions, so I had to kind of throw in some bounce tracks, and I thought they'll get singing to these, to some of these, whereas I know Lehman, he hosted the set, he wanted a little bit more of a full on kind of like Clubland set. And I was playing a lot of the Clubland tunes, but I think, because he heard a few different tracks, it made him think it was, it made him think it was different to what it normally was. And it was a little bit, because like I say, I did throw in a few bounce tracks, but I still played a good majority of the Clubland stuff, the Castles in the Sky. Um, I also played. Oh, well, I also played the Venga Boys. I played Nicky Modell Dancing in the Dark, like I always play. I also played some of the other stuff as well. So, I did, in a lot of sense, play a good few Clubland tracks. I just played some bounce tunes as well, with some stuff that I knew they'd sing. Heaven is a place on earth. I want to dance with somebody. So, was a really good vibe. They was up for it. So big up to Danny Williams for obviously having me on the booking and having me being obviously a part of the event. That was like a really cool thing to do that. So yeah, so big ups. Yeah, had an absolutely amazing weekend. Really feeling quite tired now. Had late nights. Friday night, Saturday morning. I can't remember what time we got home. It was getting on a little bit though because we dropped our friend off at home and um, then went and got food and yeah, and then Saturday we went to the little mini festival thing, and I think that by that point, I think we was a little bit earlier that night. It was sort of like half one, 2 o'clock, and then last night we did the family rave, and then we went over to Grimsby to pick the phone up, and then we called into a nightclub at Grimsby and said hello to people. And then we went to drop the phone off, and then we stayed where we dropped the phone off, and then we had a cup of tea, and then we went on our travels. We debated calling in at the warehouse, but time had got on, and then we called in at a friend's house on the way, and we ended up staying there till like 4 a.m. Just talking and laughing. So we ended up getting in quite late. By the time we got home, it was like going up for like sort of half 4, 5 o'clock, getting to bed. And then I woke up and, like I say, went to my grandparents today and went to watch the Isle of Man TT, which was really enjoyable. So yeah, if you missed it at the start of the stream, basically what happened is my granddad used to race over there. He raced the Manx Grand Prix, which is like the classic bikes. So it's a motorbike racing season that takes place like a little bit later on in the year to the TT, and you kind of get like all the classic bikes that kind of take place, whereas kind of like the TT itself, like what's on at the moment, it's all like the modern, up to date bikes. So all the recent stuff and all the new super bikes and super sports and and stuff like that. Like I say, in the Manx is all like the old Triumphs and Nortons, and my granddad raced that for, like I say, a good sort of so from like 1960 two to something like 1994. So he did it for um, a good 30 years or more. I think it would be something like 32 years, or something like that. Like he did it for like all in all, which is crazy. He raced at many, little short circuits and like, did the Manx and went over for the TT and stuff back then as well. Like he didn't race it, but I think he went over to like watch them and stuff. And yeah, it was a big part of it. So my dad was obviously brought up, around it, and he's obviously into bikes himself. And then I obviously got brought up around it as well, and I wasn't as into it as they was. And then as I kind of got older, I kind of decided that, what, like I actually don't mind this, and I've kind of got into it more now as I've got older. I've had a couple of bikes on the road in the past, and quite tempted to get one on the road again, and be a shed load of fun in that sense, and yeah, just be like really good. So yeah, so and we was watching that today. I put a story up on my Instagram. I think I might have offended a couple of people because I made a well, I wrote on the story in text. I wrote something about like it's a real sport. not like football and tennis and stuff like that. And I mean, no one like specifically commented or like said anything, but I just thought, you know what? There is like so many football fans in the world that just would not like that. But the thing about it is like when you look at what they do and then you look at what footballers do. And don't get me wrong, like there's a skill in football. Like I know there's a skill, and like to have good like ball skill and to be like fit and healthy. And I know there's a lot of stuff that goes into football, and I aren't denying that. And I'm not against anybody who likes football. People like what they like, but when you look at football, you look at motorbike racing. Like motorbike racing, like is a real sport compared to football. Like there was and I use this very lightly as an example. So there's a guy called Connor Cummins who races around the TT, and in 2010 he came off a corner called Miranda, and he rolled down the side of a mountain, basically, like, well, not a mountain, but it's like a really really steep hill. So like you've got this corner, you've got this like real kind of like steep hill where like all the hills and mountains dip. And he slid off the bike and he took like a wooden post down, and he rolled down this hill. And what you've got to remember as well is he was doing a fair speed on his motorbike. He would have obviously tried to slow down for the corner, so he won't be going like full speed, but he'd still be going a hefty speed. And then he slid off. He's smashed into a wooden pole that has actually broke because he was going that fast. And he's rolled down the mountain, and he broke like so many bones, and he broke ribs, and he was laid up in hospital for ages. And literally, like, he woke up in hospital, and obviously, you wake up and you come round, and they've done whatever, like operations, blah blah blah. You was involved in a bike accident, and the first thing he wanted to know was like, when am I going to be well enough to get back on the bike? And then you get like a footballer who will like fall over, graze their knee, and then they're like literally like they're like laid on the ground, they're crying in pain, they're holding their knee. They've been tripped over when going in for a tackle, or they've been tackled, and it's caught, and they've just, I don't know, they pulled a muscle, or they've moved something wrong. You know how it goes. And they're sat, and they're laid there, and they're crying, and they're getting taken off the pitch. And sometimes like motorbike riders, they'll come off, and they'll like literally get back up, and they'll try and get back on the bike. So that's all I really meant when I wrote the post up, like the you know like there isn't really a comparison. Like, people that, I mean, you could just call it like absolutely, like you could just call it absolutely fucking crazy. Why somebody would want to jump on a motorbike and go around an island, and go through towns and villages at like 160 mile an hour, because you've got to think, like, all it takes is like just for the bike wheel to just catch the curb, or just to knock in, or just to hit a lamp post, or a little bump in the road, or for whatever reason a pothole's occurred, or a little bit of a slippery condition, if there's been a little bit of rain or something, and boom, like you could come off, and boom, like you've literally had it. And unfortunately for the TT, there is at least like what like there is somebody dies every year at least. Sometimes, there's like three people that die, there's two people that die. Unfortunately, there is at least somebody that dies every year. And like I say, people have like wanted to get the whole like event cancelled, but the island generates so much revenue from the event taking place, like, because what you've got to remember is people are going over there, they're buying food, they're buying merchandise, they're staying in hotels over there, they're staying on campsites, they're eating in restaurants, they're eating at burger and hot dog vans, and they're keeping the island like populated, and like a really big tourist attraction. And not only that, because of the event, like so many people come like when the event's not kind of like taking place, and they'll come like just for example, like when the roads aren't always going to be closed because they're normal public roads, but they'll come and they'll follow the course, and they'll come and look round the museums, and it's really generated something for the island. So from like a money perspective, like it's a money making event. Like why would they, like as much as like it's obviously gutting that people lose their lives and people are dying. Why, in a lot of sense, why would they cancel something that's generating millions? And unfortunately, millions kind of overpowers like somebody from Yorkshire who died doing the race. And at the end of the day, like the people that are out there, the people that go around that course, they choose to do it. They want to race around that course. It's not like national service where you have to sign up and do it. It's like you have, like you choose to do it. You want to do it. You set off from that start line, which, by the way, the start line is right next to a graveyard. So I don't know if that's a bit of a hint, that that like doing this is like life threatening. But at the end of the day, you set off on the start line. You know the risks. When you set off from Bray Hill to go down Bray Hill that you might not return. That course is dangerous. That any slight movement can go wrong. So you're doing it at your own risk. It's not kind of as if like you've been forced to do it, and then But yeah, so that's what I've been watching today. It was like day one of the whole like racing season. So it takes place for 2 weeks. So like this week is like the practice week. So they all like qualify, they all race, they all do that kind of thing. Um, and then the next week is like the actual race day. Who's the best driver? The best rider. So you've got like the top boys, they're kind of classed like the headliners. So you've got like John McGuinness, you've got Michael Dunlop, you've got like Peter Hickman, you've got like Lee Johnson, and then you have like I guess like the lower class riders, which I'm not sure of everybody's names, but there's people like Davy Todd, there's people like it was something I don't know. It was something Hind, but I forget his name. And then you get like newcomers. So every year there's like newcomers. So it's like new people that have come to the Isle of Man to basically race, and they wear like an orange bib, which is like it's like an orange high vis, and it lets people know that you're like a newcomer, and you're riding like newcomer races, and the newcomer race. So, like to start with, it's what's known as a controlled lap. So you go around the course, and there's basically like a travelling marshal, and you follow him. So you go around the track, and you get to go fast, but you don't like fully throttle it like you would in a normal race. It's like it's a controlled lap, so you go around fast, but you take it steady at the same time, and then you kind of like have to you have to kind of like follow kind of like rules of the travelling marshal, and you can't go past him. And it's kind of just for like getting used to the course, and then sort of like as the week progresses, they let you go out and kind of start racing, and then you kind of progress from there. There was a guy from Hull. I'm from Hull. There was a guy from Hull. I forget his name. He actually entered the TT race, and he became a newcomer. And I think he did one lap, and it scared the shit out of him. And he never went back. He said, he literally like said, fuck that. I'm never doing that again. It's really scary. Like it's not, honestly, like watching videos and stuff like you get the feel of what it's like, but it really doesn't do it justice. Like you've got to be stood there watching, like physically in person. You've got to stand there and watch, and you've got to and then you'll really get the vibe. Like I've gone, I've only ever been to the Manx, which is like the classic bikes, because that's what my granddad used to race over there. Obviously back then they weren't going anywhere near as fast as they're going now. They were still going fast, you know, they were still reaching speeds of up to 100 mile an hour, but they weren't really going too much beyond that back then. Like they weren't hitting like 160 like they are now. But we always go to the classics. And even then, watching them, and they're not hitting the same speeds as what like the normal, you know, like modern super bikes are. And even when you see them, you know, like God, it's mad. Just watching them turn corners is mental. Scares me turning corners on my specialist pedal bike. Well, yeah, this is it, and this is what I'm saying. Like you've either got to like just have something not right up there to want to jump on a bike, and because like there's a place on the racetrack. It's called Sulby Straight. It's not too far after Balarth Bridge. So there's a little village called Balarth, and you go over a little bridge. Someone actually came over the bridge. They took the bridge wrong, and they literally went head first into the side of a pub. They was dead, you know. They died literally. But a little bit just after there, there's a Sulby Straight, and it's like a section of the race course, where the road goes straight for quite a decent amount of time, maybe for like a mile or something. The road goes straight. So there's like no corners. It's just a really straight section. And bikes there, they hit like now, like in recent years, that like they've been hitting speeds of they've been hitting speeds of 190 miles an hour, like 190 miles and like I'm not being funny, but that is fucking crazy. Like oh my days, like 190, like 10 mile an hour off literally doing 200. And I think like some riders have actually very nearly hit the 200 mark, which is like you have literally got to be crazy. But they're lapping at like 130 mile an hour, which is crazy. So when I say lapping, so when you go back over the start line, so the speed that you're doing when you go over that start line is what you've lapped at. So just before you get back to the straight where the start line is, there's like loads of corners and stuff. So you're not going to be doing like, you know, it's going to quite hard for you to be doing 160. So don't they get speed wobbles? They get speed wobbles all the time. They literally they wobble all the time. Like because it's normal public roads. So like when the racing isn't on, you've got the normal traffic. You've got buses, vans, trucks, cars, push bikes. You've got people going to work. You've got taxis, and so it's used like a normal road. So any little slight thing. You know, the tyre could just touch the curb, they could just take a little corner wrong, there could be a little pothole. Like I know before the event starts, like they have to go around the whole course and they have to do safety checks. Which, you know, more things have been put into measure, you know, through people that have lost their lives doing the course. But yeah, so like if there's they have to go around like good in advance, and if there's anywhere that needs like resurfacing, you know, they get it resurfaced. You know, they have to do it for like health and safety reasons. But they get wobbles all the time. You know, you're going through villages, you know, at like 130 mile an hour. So you know, like just think how like you know you're going past somebody's house at like 130 mile an hour. You know, talk about Grand Theft Auto, like it just blows my mind. But it's been embedded in our family, and I've just gotten into it like more over the years, as my family just you know they're lovers of it. You know they wear t-shirts, they watch it every year religiously and listen to it on the radio. Um, so they're just a big part of it. Like I say, my granddad used to race it, so it's kind of been embedded into our families. I've thought to myself like shall I race it? But you've got to have so much training. You've got to be so healthy. It's not just about jumping on a bike and going, I'm going to do the TT. You've got to put loads of work in it, like going round short circuits and stuff like that. I'm kind of like, I'd like to give it a go sometime, like just a little bit of bike racing, just to say I've done it. Like, but it's expensive as well. Like, like getting tires and stuff, and just anything goes wrong with your bike and mechanic teams. It's not just jumping on a bike and racing. There's a lot more to it, that makes it very, very off-putting, and I'd have to do a lot of training. Most definitely. But yeah, there we go. I'm gonna cut from this anyway. It's been an amazing weekend. 2 gigs. So this Saturday we are in Manchester for Hardcore Addiction, and Mandy Edge is singing live. So that is going to be a shed load of fun. And Ryan Garner is headlining. Loads of DJs. I'm MCing at this one. It's one of my final MC bookings of the year, because I'm obviously like taking a step back from MCing, to focus more on DJing. So I'm just sort of honouring the bookings that I'm already booked for, and this is one of them where I actually got booked for it last year, sort of in December time. So the event's been on the pipeline for a very, very long time, and yeah, it's all taking place next weekend. So, well, this Saturday. So we're at the Zombie Shack. We're gonna absolutely blaze it down. We're gonna tear it down. So yeah, let's do it. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Peace out.